You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series that syndicates for the A-List Online, and my name is Andrew Mackay-Smith. Thanks so much for tuning in. The interview subject I have coming up for you is from Perth, Western Australia, another killer artist from out west. His name is Matthew Vereker. Now, Matthew, I'm sure you're listening, and if I've mispronounced your surname, I sincerely apologise for that. But look, Matthew is one of the most outstanding up-and-coming electro artists in this country, Australia. Definitely one to watch out for. The catalyst for the conversation is his collaboration with Marksman Lloyd on the cut Coppola. Marksman Lloyd, to the train spotters out there, will be familiar because I interviewed him many years back when I was hosting a radio show for 4ZZZ. Anywho, here he is, Matthew Vereker. You got the sound pad there to your right. Is that what that is?
Yeah, I've got the Ableton Push here, and I don't know if you can see this, but that's my dad's Korg, my Korg M1. It's just here.
Sweet.
I've got a bunch of a few guitars around here and amp or two. But yeah, I like my technology.
That's the engine room from the looks of things where you are now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is where all the magic happens. Doing my recording in here too.
That's cool. Mad. That's what I love about 2020. I'm 42. I've been a musician most of my life, certainly, mid-teenage years up to now. And it was only 15 years ago that I had to go to all sorts of places and go to a studio to get things done because all the equipment was in there. And if you tried to do things at home on Audacity, which is the big one, it sounded like shit. But your music, for example, is actually, I'll pay you a big compliment. I was listening to it, and I knew you were a fellow that did things at home and the like, but I don't think I've heard better production than on Coppola than from any other artist this year. What you've managed to do here, I don't know whether it's the way that you've mixed it or potentially the way that you've gone about the mastering process, but we both got AirPods in from the looks of things. That's how I tend to listen to everything with my AirPods on, and I just leave the phone and walk around and stuff. But man, you've got a sweet balance with what you've got on that song.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
So what's the secret?
Mixing process for me, because I did I don't know, just like constant overthinking and being an overthinking perfectionist, and that's just driven me to, think, is this good enough? No, let's tweak it like a little bit more. Like that's the way my brain works, and I think I can use that to like a positive.
Do you have a mate?
That's my secret. Is just overthink everything until you get to a point. Sorry, you go.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you have a mate who owns a nightclub or a warehouse, and you can bring in some 15s or 18-inch speakers and just crank it and listen to it that way?
No, but I need to find a mate like that in Perth. I think that would be very, very cool. That would be a very, very cool thing to do to test my mixes. But I played this song at Jackrabbit Slims in here in Perth like a few weeks ago, and that was like on some club systems, and it sounded really, really nice. Like I hadn't heard it that loud before. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, then being a perfectionist, would you have changed anything about the way you recorded it and mixed it after you heard it that loud?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Yes and no. Like the club speakers are quite bassy to begin with, so that threw out my ears a little bit. But I think I'm happy. Like I've got to a point where I'm happy to say like that's at a good level.
It sounds like you're at the beginning of your journey with this stuff, so I can't wait to see where you end up on the long haul, because, as I say, that the word is balance. I just feel like with your recordings, because I've listened to your other stuff, like Can You, I think is the other song I found on Apple Music. Yeah. And you've just got, you and there's a lads from Sydney called Lamalo. And they do similar stuff to you. And you've just nailed it, got that right balance, particularly with Can You, where you've got that wonderful female vocal just drifting across the cut. So, man, whatever it is that you're doing, man, just keep refining.
Thank you. Yeah, I will. Don't worry. And yeah, that's a really big compliment. Thank you very much.
So with Coppola, it's a slice of killer electro house, and for me, it's perfect for late night drives in this godforsaken heat and humidity we're getting in Queensland at the moment. But I guess I'm interested. I guess I'm interested about the song title. So, is it a reference to God knows how many Coppolas there are? But off the top of my head, there's Gia, Francis, Nick Cage is a Coppola. Everybody forgets that he's a Coppola, but he is.
That's true.
And Sophia, who was probably my favourite, actually. I do like her movies and what she does. I don't like The Godfather 3, I've got to say. She didn't have to be in that, but that's okay. But look, are you a movie buff? Is that where the song title comes from?
It does come from Francis Coppola. Yeah, we when Marksman and I were writing this, and there's a line in the track that is this Coppola's masterpiece. Like that's where that track name comes from, because we took ages to figure out the name for this. I think that was the last bit of the process, was to pick a name for the track, and we thought that was quite special.
I interviewed Marksman Lloyd a few years back, about 3 years ago or so. I think it was anyway. He released Gene Simmons. And
that's right.
Yeah, so there was Gene Simmons, and now you've got killer. It's got, I don't think you realise, but he's got an Ozzy Osbourne sample in it, and I know Ozzy Osbourne back to front. So when I heard that, I was like, yeah, dude, it's definitely Ozzy. That's cool. I thought it added to it big time. The next song he should do is probably Ozzy Osbourne as opposed to Gene Simmons. Both. But how did you guys hook up? Because it's a great musical partnership you got going on.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we met. It's funny. He came to my school when I was back in high school in like year 9, and he came to my school, did because Mark does some speaking as well, like public speaking, and he came and rapped at our school, and had a chat to us kids, and then I started doing this only like about a year and a half ago, and like in this time last year, I just found him on Instagram. I'm like, I remember that dude. He came to my school. So I was looking for some people to work with, and I just reached out to him, took a shot, and he was really keen to work, and it happened pretty quickly. Like we maybe got in the studio like the next week, and then I played him like this vocal idea that I'd been coming up with, and he like connected with it, and then wrote pretty much like the first verse plus like the second verse in like 10 to 15 minutes.
You guys could totally do with how quickly that partnership came about, and the fruits of it via Coppola. They're there for anybody to have a listen to, of course. It's great. But you guys could totally do like an Empire of the Sun type deal. Have you ever thought about doing that with him?
Yeah, I've definitely thought about doing some more with him. Yeah, and I'm a big Empire of the Sun fan, actually. Like, they're really, really cool. They were drilled into my kind of young years from my parents. So, yeah, that'd be really like an honor to write a track like that.
Sweet, yeah. Something else about the way you compose, it reminds me of French house music. I went through a phase, it was almost a 5-year phase. It was a long time. Cassius, Busy P, Daft Punk, but getting right into it. VHS or Beta, I know they're a US band, but it's house, but it's disco house, if that makes sense. And yours has definitely got that vibe. So do you know many of those artists, and have they been an influence on you at all?
I know, like, obviously Daft Punk are massive. Like, I've definitely listened to them, and especially like the track with Nile Rodgers, because I really like Nile Rodgers as well. Not so much, but I'm definitely trying to get into like the bit more of like the dancey kind of scene. Like, I've been working with like a few people here in Perth who are like got kind of like a similar mindset. Like, they're all moving toward that kind of genre. So I'm definitely going to explore that.
Yeah. Well, that'd be. I mean, it's hard to know where your sweet spot is, because of the 3 songs that I've heard, they're different, but they're all great. So it's like you could go or like almost as many different directions, I think, as you chose. And I think you might have hit on that earlier, because something that I think people don't understand is how many hours you need to dedicate to something in order to become anywhere near an expert. It's just,
that's true.
I'm an author these days, and I'm constantly writing and then rewriting. And you think it's never a waste of time. because you're refining the craft and you're refining the process. So I think it's always great when you come to a T intersection, metaphorically speaking, and you think left or right. It's always great to get some advice, but only ever go to advice from people that you'd almost receive criticism from at the same time.
Yeah,
so I was like, it's going to be honest feedback about things. So, because I'll just talk about Can You again.
Yeah, go ahead.
So that was released earlier this year. Was that done through Firestarter, or did you get the Firestarter guys on?
Yeah, the Firestarter guys was this release. Yeah, so Can You was just everything else was everything's been independent. Yeah,
that's killer, man. I mean, because that's why I thought, wow, how come I don't have this on my media player already if it's gone through Firestarter? And you've answered that it didn't, so no worries there. So you've obviously done that independently. Did you get much of a pop through that one there, like no doubt Coppola's going to get?
Yeah, I got it got really well received, funnily enough, because it was like quite an interesting track because it's got a bit of like a darker kind of element to that track, and I was not worried about how it would be received by the people who listen to my more poppy kind of happier tracks. So it was really cool to see that people actually like this one too.
Yeah, killer, mate. Yeah. So a lot of listeners to the podcast that I host, Scars and Guitars, they know that I'm a fan of the sort of music that you're producing, but they themselves don't listen to a lot of that sort of music. They mainly get into the extreme metal, death metal, heavy metal, punk rock, this sort of thing. So
yeah,
can you explain your journey? From when you first started getting into music, and you went, instead of say going toward heavy music or rock music with guitars. And I know you mentioned that you had some guitars around you there, so that's killer. But this pathway that unfolded for you toward electro music, how did that start?
That started, I've done classical music my whole life, and I was playing piano since I could about 2 years old or so, and then started getting into it more classically and professionally when I was 9 or 10, and then did classical guitar. And my dad was a big funny you say that your listeners are a metal kind of fans, because I've got a bit of a metal-y rock background from my dad.
Sweet.
So I've got that kind of drilled into my brain, but always done classical music through high school, and we would have to memorize symphonies and really boring classical music. And so on the bus, I'd be listening to this electronic music that I found on YouTube, and I was getting really into it. And then, I had this kind of light bulb moment when I was studying at uni, something I didn't want to do. I was yeah, I want to do electronic music for the rest of my life. That's what I want to do.
Yes.
I knew that's what I want to do. So, I've got such a range of a genre that I like, especially in the electronic scene, because it's so broad.
I love that. You had a light bulb moment. You had an epiphany, as I like to call them.
Yeah.
So do you remember where you were when that happened?
I was either on the bus coming home from a uni class, or I was at home just listening to music. I was I just hate what I'm doing at uni, and I'm just I just hate it. And I know I really love this. I really love listening to it, and I'm yeah, I want to do that.
What were you studying?
Oh, studying digital design, which is app design and web design.
Yeah, I did a little bit of it myself, because I've just graduated uni at my age now.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you. Yeah. Went to Bond, and I should have selected in hindsight. I loved being at Bond University. It's fantastic, but I was journalism degree. My major, I selected social media, and I don't know whether I'd do that again, because my career pathway, instead of going into news media, I've decided to become an author.
Oh yeah.
So in March, I've got a residency at the State Library, which is starting up.
Oh, congrats!
But thanks, man. Yeah, that's my whole life's done this massive. Professionally speaking, it's done this. It's here, and now I'm over here, and I used to be an account executive for Telstra.
Oh wow! And are you happy with the direction you're going in at the moment?
Yeah, big time. I'm so happy with it. Sometimes I get internally frustrated that I didn't make the decision when I was, say, your age. But then, mate, no, you've got to. I didn't have an epiphany or a moment like that when I was a kid. I was just trying to get by. You know what I mean? And you just sort of put your head down and take whatever the hell job you can. And for me, it ended up being at Telstra, and it lasted about 13 years, I think it was. And it was a long enough stint anyway to be in a role like that I tried every day, believe me, but it's not me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Part of you switches off. It's an incredible thing that happens, and you only realise it in hindsight that your creativity and a lot of your well-being evaporates, and you just sort of turn into somebody who's more obsessed about task, task and objective task. So what's a task? This is the objective, go. And you do that, and then you start drinking a lot and all of this stuff just to sort of, that becomes your outlet, to be honest with you. I'm not alone, man. A lot of people like that.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
But I got out about 3 years ago, and I've got a degree now, and my whole life, as I say, just professionally speaking, man, I don't mind saying, it's just turned around big time. And that's because I listened to my inner beat, something that it sounds like you've done as well, and went to uni and had a great time, did the social media stuff. I ended up doing a lot of stuff with Adobe. So, not the Dreamweaver, I think it was, but Photoshop, Premiere Pro, but really, but diving into it, and more than just the YouTube stuff. Obviously, if it's a subject that I'm doing, obviously it's going to be done to a certain level of expertise. But I've got to say, man, all except for one subject in the social media side of it, which was the social media marketing subject, which I did not like at all. It was my worst subject by far. The irony is, mate, the only qualification I had prior to going to uni and getting a degree was a marketing diploma. But it's changed a lot. It's changed a lot in the 15 years or so, or however long it was since I last got that, because it's all online now. Even 15 years ago, it wasn't online. It was letterbox drops and all of this sort of stuff. And it was about an integrated marketing campaign using the media in particular, like broadsheet media. But I did an experiential. The exam was an assessment. The experiential things where you participate in basically a ranked hierarchy sort of a thing. And I just couldn't get out of the bottom third. But shit happens. I got through it. Got 65% for the subject, so that's the main thing.
Oh, that's good.
Entry level credit.
That's all you need, right? To get through your degree, that's all you need.
Yep. Did that, but I'm hearing you, man. A lot of that web design and stuff. I think if you're, I've got to say, just about everybody I know that does web design too, they seem to be quite manic. Does that make sense? Like they seem to be very wired, and just they get very frustrated with things because they're what they've got in their head about what they're trying to design on a screen oftentimes can't happen.
Yeah. No, I feel that. I'm still studying. I changed my major in university. I'm now studying computer science and electronic music and sound design at uni. So I'm happy to have like those two going on at once. So like the computer science brain is like constantly like trying to like figure out like little jigsaw puzzles of like code of how to fix everything, and then that transfers well with uni. With music stuff. Yeah, especially with like the audio engineering aspects, like mixing and stuff.
Wow, man, it sounds like how much longer have you got to go then?
I've got like another year and a half.
You're about halfway through.
Yeah, about halfway through.
Mate, the sky's the limit for you then, because of your obvious talent creating electronic music, and the key word here is you're putting an academic framework around it, which I now absolutely believe is necessary, because for many years I didn't. I thought that you could just figure things out as you went along and become a jack of all trades, but I do think you need to specialize, because that's the way the world is heading. And there's too much automation. When I say I like automation, I want it to happen, but at the same time, I want people to, and like I've done, is to understand that you've got to reskill and you've got to specialize. And I think that's what you're doing there. But you figured it out, and we talked earlier there about your journey there as an electronic musician or an artist crafting electronic music. So, mate, I say the sky's the limit for you, but where do you see yourself in, say, 10 years' time doing this stuff?
10 years. The goal is to become like an internationally touring artist. Obviously, subject to COVID restrictions and how safe that can be. But my definite goal is to try and, you know, perform as many places as I can, like spread my music everywhere and trying to make people have a good time. Like, you know, that's the dream at the moment. That's the
Like,
dream.
do you want to get to the Tiesto Avicii level? Is that like the dream?
That'd be awesome. Yeah, I'm just happy to have whatever comes my way. Like, I want to take it as high as I can go. That's the dream.
How do you then tap into government grants and all of that sort of stuff that can help you connect with people that might be able to get you there?
Definitely thinking about it. Yeah, I've actually inquired a lot about there's a lot of grants in WA for the arts, which is awesome. Like, there's like two different types of grants. Like, one's for like under $15,000 for like a project, and the other one's like 15 plus. Yeah, they're actually really, you know, I had a chat to the actual some of the officers there, and they were quite helpful. That they want to give people these grants, so you got to give them a reason to give the grants out.
I found that too, just with the placement that I got in the State Library with Queensland Writers Centre it is. But they want people to come on board, man, but you got to know your shit. You know, like, and they don't want rent seekers and people who are just sort of, maybe. But if you can't clearly articulate what you're doing and have evidence to back that up, forget about it.
That's exactly right. Yeah, you got to plan out exactly, like, this is the project, like, this is what I'm doing, exactly when things are going to happen. And then they'll go, yep, like, they know what they're doing. Sure. Here's a grant to help you. Like, rather than, oh, I want to do some music and then be very broad and general, they're not going to give you anything. They're not going to help you if you don't know.
But it's like corporations companies find it, people who are writing grants find it. People have this idea that they've got this undiscovered genius or talent, but they've not got any evidence to show that it actually exists. And so they start shitting all over these grants or companies that have got bursaries, this sort of thing. And I think it's crazy, because if you're not already doing it, how are you going to do it? I mean, if you want to learn how to do something, go to TAFE or some other secondary college of education. You know, there's plenty of this stuff around, you know, but for somebody to invest in you, you have to be demonstrating that you've actually got the nous to make it happen as well. Because as soon as the hand-holding episode is finished, you know, as soon as come on board, sit down, do whatever it might be, do this, but as soon as that person, the lecturer or whoever it might be, isn't around, you know, what is the thing that keeps you going forward? And if you haven't already proven that, it's not going to happen. But you don't have to worry about that, because this wonderful body of work you've already produced. So, you know, mate, I better wrap things up. But I want to ask you one more question, and you might have hit on it already. But tonight I thought I'm going to ask the 3 interview subjects that I've got the same question. So here it is. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
We've been in lockdown. It's been a pandemic almost the entire year. Doesn't look like it's going to let up now that there's issues there in Sydney. So that affects all of us, though, globally, not just in Australia or Perth or Gold Coast where I am. It's everywhere. But for you personally, how will your life change as an individual moving forward due to the pandemic?
It'll make me. I think it'll make me kind of better as a person, like trying to do things more remotely. Definitely trying to figure things out by myself, because I can't go anywhere. Like, I'm my own kind of my boss. So I think in the future, like, it'll definitely help me trying to network better via, like, I've had to get better with like emailing and contacting people and knowing exactly what to say. And just to be like a bit more punctual with what I want rather than dance around it. I think like this, you know, COVID's kind of helped me like that. Yeah. Right. I think that answers your question.
No, it's a good answer. You said something in there that's crucial, and I've touched on it myself. So when I went for the residency, I was extremely clear about what I wanted, how they could help. And it was probably the first time in my life, in all honesty, even though I've been in a sales gig for 13 years or however long it had bloody been, but I've been so clear about what I wanted from somebody, from an organisation, because that's what they want. That's what they need. They need to know how they can help. And if you can't clearly express that, then figure it out. Go back to the drawing board and figure it out. But and as I said, man, I think the sky's the limit for you, mate. So just before I let you go, tell everybody, where can they find you on socials and Bandcamp and that sort of stuff?
Yeah, you can find me on Spotify, Apple Music, Instagram, Facebook, Amazon Music, all those streaming platforms, and then on social media at Maver Producing, pretty much.
You're easily found. Yeah. I found you very easily just before we got on the call. So,
awesome. Mate, that's good to know.
Good luck with everything. Thanks very much for the conversation. What I'll do from here is if you're comfortable with everything we've spoken about, I certainly am, and I'll just post it. I'll just put an intro and an outro on it.
Yeah, of course.
People all over the world will have a bit of a listen into your conversation, and then hopefully are suitably inspired to go and check out your music.
I'd love it. Thank you so much for the chat. Like, this has been great. This has been a really good chat.
Yeah, no worries, man. It's a pleasure, man. You've got some great stuff, man. As I say, I don't say things I don't mean. I think it's all going to happen for you, brother. It's just the old time thing,
Yeah, time, exactly. Thank you so much again. Like, it's been a really great time to have a chat with you.
No, my pleasure.
Really honored. No, thank you.
No, thank you very much, mate. No worries. All right, all the best with it.
No, you're welcome.
Thanks a lot.
See you.
Catch you.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series that syndicates for the A-List Online, and my name is Andrew Mackay-Smith. That interview subject was Matthew Vereker, who performed under the pseudonym Maver. Thanks for listening.